So there's a lot of talk about the use of AI in education, and I am not on the fence when it comes to the use of AI in education. I think it should be used, and I think we are past the point now of umming and ahhing about whether students are going to be using AI for their assignments or not, or whether they're going to be using it to support them academically. So as someone who has used AI to support education, has recommended it to my students, and as a student has also used elements of AI to help me through the academic process. I'm going to give a little bit of insight into how you can use AI to simplify and enhance your research process. Now, this can be small research projects where you're simply writing a 3,000 word assignment and you've got to make sure that it's backed up with evidence. So we're going to discuss that. But also if you're doing bigger pieces of work like your dissertation or your thesis or report, how can you use AI to help you with your research? I'm going to start off the bat by saying AI should never write the content for your assignments. And if you are under the misconception that your educators, your lecturers, your professors don't know that you're using AI, they know. We know that the turn in function doesn't work most of the time because it doesn't. I have seen a number of pieces of work that students have submitted to me, and automatic straight away when I'm looking at it, I know that content has been generated through AI. So do not think your professors do not know. We know. But let's get into it. So how can AI first of all help you find relevant sources that can be used in your assignments and that can be cited and they are valid, they are relevant, they are all of the good stuff? One of the platforms I like to use is Jenni.ai, which you can use to help with outlines and things like that, but you can also use it to help you get citations. One thing I will say is it draws a lot of citations from some journals, but magazines and things like that. So one thing you should always do anyway is go and check the source. Even though it's giving you a list of citations, you still need to go and check those citations. So Jenni.ai tends to give a variety of different references and different pieces of literature to look at, but it does take a lot of things from magazines and things like that. It may just be some of the topics that I've been reviewing as to why that has been the case. However, be very mindful of that. Another platform that you can use is Paperpal. You can use it in the web, but you can get an add-on extension into your Microsoft Word app that you use on your desktop or your laptop, and it can help you find relevant citations and references that way. As I always say, you should be going first to your library. You can visit your librarian, have a discussion with your librarian about the research that you're doing, and they can give you references and sit with you and work through references that you can look for. You are going to be looking at databases, yes, but you can also go to platforms like Paperpal and Jenni.ai. Another thing you can use AI for is to summarize long articles. So I still believe that you should be reading the full text. However, I'm also very aware that we are in a very busy society now. University can be stressful and hectic, and you may have a number of assignments that you're doing consecutively, or you're doing back to back. So one thing you can use AI for is to summarize long articles and long pieces of literature or long papers. One of the platforms I like for this is Unriddle.ai. You can put a PDF in there or a document in there, and it can give you a summary of the literature that you have presented. One thing you can do is you can ask it to summarize this piece of literature or summarize this document. I was a 5-year-old, and it will basically summarize it to the simplest form so a 5-year-old would understand what it is talking about. Again, when it comes to reviewing the summary, you may see points in there that you think, oh, this is going to be useful to the paper that I'm writing. This is useful to the research that I'm doing. So you're going to want to include those pieces of information in your paper. You should still go back to the document to read the context. So say, for example, that document says AI in education is important. What were the paragraphs before that and what are the paragraphs after that saying? Because the summary may simply say AI in education is amazing, but is that actually what the text is saying? And what reference are you going to be paraphrasing to put into your piece of work? So you need to go back and clarify and check the article and the section. It will give you a little notation of where it is in that paper, so you can go back to that section and review that bit of information just to see if it is relevant, if it is valid, and if it is something that you can use in your piece of writing. And then finally, what you can use AI for is you can use it to help you organize your research findings and organize your citations and things like that. And I like using MyBib. Now, you can use things like EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero. My personal preference is MyBib, or the Harvard Referencing Generator. It's not just for Harvard referencing. It has a long list of other references in there. Some of the more well-known ones like APA, MLA, Chicago, Vancouver, they are all generated in this platform. I have made previous videos on it as well, where you can color code it, you can write notes down the side. So if you are wanting to keep track of why you've picked those citations, which I think are very important to do, not to have to do it in a big table or a spreadsheet, you can write notes down the side of each piece of literature that you have added to your reference list, and it will keep track of your references for you. You can also use it to generate in-text citations, and it will show you how to do that in the platform. So that way you can keep track of your references that you are putting into your text. You can also use it to generate a bibliography as well. One thing I would recommend is understanding the difference between a reference list and a bibliography list. Reference list, in simple, is a list of the text that you cite in your piece of work, whereas a bibliography is a list of all of the pieces of literature that you have read that have contributed to you understanding how to develop your piece of work, as well as your citations would be included in that bibliography list. You do need to differentiate in the Harvard Referencing Generator, MyBib, which type you are using, and this is why I would recommend, if you are unaware, which you should be, but if you are unaware of the type of list you need to produce, usually it's a reference list, so anything you put in there should be cited in your paper. There are two ways you can go about this. You can color code ones that you have cited. So all the green ones I have included in my piece of work, so that when it comes to generating your reference list, you can simply delete the ones that haven't been color coded, or you just make two completely different lists. But I am of the mindset of working smarter and not harder. Why would you double up on the work? So you can just simply color code it or write a note in the side to say this hasn't been referenced, so you can remove it later. And that's pretty much it. Those are the three ways that I would recommend you can use AI to simplify and enhance your research process. Now, when it comes to the AI elements, I've already given you those, but just to recap, I've said Jenni AI, Unriddle, and Paperpal to use as reference search engines as such. But as usual, I would always say that you need to make sure you're using your library and your databases first. And then when it comes to generating your reference list and creating those in-text citations, you can use MyBib. You can also use Paperpal, because it will just automatically, whatever references you've found on the platform, you can just click on it and it will add it into your text. But as usual, use AI with caution. When you are copying anything from the internet, and I'm specifically talking about Jenni AI and Paperpal here, if you are copying bits of text, be mindful that the more text you copy and paste, the more it's going to flag as plagiarism. I don't agree in humanizing things. I don't agree with the plagiarism tracker element of Paperpal, because I feel like that starts to brink on, if you have to check it, you probably are taking too much from someone else's work. Learn how to paraphrase. I do have a video on paraphrasing. Try and minimize the amount of in-text quotations you're using, so direct quotes from pieces of literature. Learn how to paraphrase, but also be mindful that every time you generate something through a plagiarism tracker, you are increasing the possibility of that flagging when you go to put it through your university's plagiarism tracker. So Turnitin, for example. I know of a few people who have used Grammarly to help with spelling, punctuation, grammatical errors and things like that. And their work has flagged as AI generated, even though technically it was their work. Be very careful about how you are using these platforms. I think some of the videos on here are for clickbaits. Yes, I've got my exam open and I'm checking the answers on this platform. I think that's clickbait. I wouldn't like to think that students are using it for this element. You're cheating yourself. So use AI with caution, but it can be used if you are using it effectively to support you through your academic journey. If there are any other topics you would like me to cover, please let me know in the comments. And don't forget to share, and I'll see you in the next video.